In more than 20 years of practicing medicine, I've collected interesting facts about your body. Join me on a tour head to toe of
Your body is interesting.
Now, just as there is birth in mankind's life, there is death, kicking the bucket. Where that expression comes from is in a slaughterhouse. You hoist the animal above a bucket to collect the drippings, and as it's slaughtered, it thrashes around and kicks the bucket. Now, since the population of the Earth is going to increase more during the next few decades than it did during the last million years, death can be viewed as a fortunate thing. Otherwise, within 1,000 years, if no one died, the mass of people on the planet would be the size of the planet. Now, longevity varies worldwide. At the top of the list is Puerto Rico, Scandinavia, and Canada. The Hunzas in a valley in the Himalayas also live quite long. The average woman lives to age 100. And curiously, the Hunzas are almost virtually free of cancer. Duke University's study on aging found that there's really little association between the age of death of your parents and when you're going to die. Only one person in 2 billion will live to be age 116. There have been some individuals who lived particularly long. Mr. Azumi died in 1986 at age 120. The oldest American was Charlie Smith, aged 136. Mrs. Filkins died at 113, never wore glasses. Now, historically, life expectancy has extended. Back in the caveman days, most people died when they were teenagers. Ancient Greece and Rome, people made it until their 30s. Medieval England, up until the cowboy days, into their 40s. Finally, by the year 1900, the U.S. Census Bureau established that the average working man died at age 65. It seems too coincidental that that's the very age that after the government takes a third of your salary away, they promise that they will start returning it. Now, there's some other differences between the year 1900 and today. I have here a list. Back in 1900, only 14% of people had a bathtub, 8% had a phone, yet 18% had a full-time servant. There were 8,000 cars in the country. The city speed limit was 10 miles per hour. The average income was $300, and that's an annual income. 95% of births were at home. Women washed their hair once a month. The population of Las Vegas was only 30, and only 6% of Americans were high school graduates. Heroin and marijuana was available over the counter, and Coca-Cola was green and contained cocaine until 1903. Now, there are diseases that occur more commonly as we get older, but there's a disease, it's a weird one, where aging itself is the disease. These kids go bald, get wrinkled, develop hardening of the arteries, and die of either a heart attack or a stroke by age 13. There's a holiday based on death, Halloween, the evening before All Hallows Day, Hallows Eve, which is where the word Halloween comes from. And where this comes from is back when the Druids were the dominant group, they weren't terribly happy about these Christians planning to worship all the saints the next day, on All Saints' Day, All Hallows Day. And so the story went that they'd call all the people who had died that year back to life as grotesque animals who would maraud around the village and demand gifts of these Christian townspeople. And if the people wouldn't cough up a gift, they would trash their house, trick or treat. Now, the topic of death warrants some discussion on the history of lead. Lead used to be laden in cups, and people would get lead poisoning. Now, the combination of lead poisoning and intoxication from alcohol mimic death. So there was a lot of premature burials. Now, in Old England, the way they came to find out about this is the cemeteries were developing a space problem, and so a decision was made to unearth the bones of the deceased and have them stored at the family's home instead. But when they opened the coffins, they noticed scratch marks on the undersurface of the coffin. Now, this happened every 1 out of 25 coffins they opened in the year 1500 AD. So a decision was made to equip each burial site with a bell on the ground surface and a little string that goes down into the coffin. Now, during the day, the person working there would hear the bell, and this is how they would know someone had woken up. But someone had to sit vigil for the first time late at night in cemeteries, and this late shift was known as the graveyard shift. So from this we get expressions like saved by the bell and a dead ringer. Then folks developed more common sense. They thought, well, let's just delay burying people and lay the recently deceased, or at least seemingly, down on a table at home and sit vigil and sit around and wait to see if they wake up or not. And that ritual is known as a wake. Now, the plates were also made out of lead, and consequently, since the acid from a tomato leaches out lead from a lead plate, tomatoes were considered poisonous for centuries. Anyhow, back to your urogenital system. The male's urogenital system terminates in the penis, which is Latin for tail. Just as in the womb, the baby pees, male fetuses also get erections. In the female, the urogenital tract ends in the vagina, which is Latin for vanilla. The reason for this is that they resemble the flower from the vanilla plant. Now, some women are actually allergic to semen. What would solve that would be condoms. Then again, some women are allergic to condoms too. Some people have no luck.